all quiz over this stuff. Yep. Wait a minute. I was readjust. Okay. 53. All right. We are getting into the actual trigonometry part of this unit. Trigonometry is one of my favorite units. I wish the unit lasted longer. It's usually the unit where the majority of students do very well. So I'm banking on that for you. Before we dive into the actual trig, that's the short word for it, trigonometry, trig, we have to learn how to label the sides of a right triangle based on a particular angle. Please pay attention here. This is really important. This is the foundation of trig, okay? Stay with me. First, we need to take a note, and that would be the word theta, which sounds really weird. Theta. That is a Greek letter of the alphabet, okay? And this is what it looks like. It looks like a slanted O with a line through it, okay? It's a Greek letter of the alphabet. So, I know you might be thinking, okay, I do well enough for English letters of the alphabet in math. Why do we need to throw a Greek letter of the alphabet in math? Theta represents a missing angle measure in degrees. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, the word theta, which looks like this, is a fancy X for missing angles. It's a fancy X for missing angles. It's the same thing as if I used an X. I'm saying we don't know the measure, but because it's referring to an angle, they take it from X and they change it to theta. Okay? And there's actually some more. There's more than theta. You don't have to write these. I'm just going to make a note. There's also alpha, beta, which is the easiest one. It looks like a capital B with a tail. And then there's one that's actually called gamma, which looks like a Y with a hook. Alpha and beta may come up in here, but when they do, I'll remind you what they are. But theta is the one that's in here the most, okay? So anytime you see theta, it means a missing angle that we don't know. It's a variable. It's attributed to like a fancy X. Now, here's why theta is important. Come right here to this right triangle. You've already been practicing labeling the hypotenuse. Go back to yesterday and the day before and draw the thing on the triangle that I said to draw that will identify the hypotenuse. What was it? We said draw an arrow. Draw the arrow. It'll be from the right angle to the side opposite of the right angle. And then you're going to put hypotenuse, or I like to put either capital H or I'll put HYP. Then we're going to come over here, we're going to say, hey, the hypotenuse is 5. Now you're going to notice there's two new names, opposite and adjacent. This is where it all depends on the angle that they're telling you to focus on. Okay? Just like when we label the hypotenuse, we focus on what angle first? The right angle. Then we go to the hypotenuse. Now we're going to shift our focus to the angle that is marked theta. I want you to really shift your focus. So what I'd like you to do is either, some people circle it. That's one technique. Some people come over here and draw basically like an asterisk, a star. Just, something to say, okay, I'm focused from over here. I want you to picture yourself standing right here in this corner where theta is. What would be the side opposite and what would be adjacent? Opposite is going to be the side that does not touch the angle. It's the one farthest away. Okay? So opposite of theta would be 3. Adjacent, watch this. If if I was to draw an arc on theta, and then if I was to highlight the side adjacent, do you notice how they touch? That's adjacent. That's how you know this is adjacent. It's also the last angle, or the last side left. I always label in the same order. I label hypotenuse, opposite, and I always let adjacent be last. Now you might be saying, now wait a minute, Ms. Holcombe, isn't the hypotenuse also adjacent? I went to red here because it's wrong. Well, yeah, it is technically touching it, but because the hypotenuse is the side opposite of the right angle, that supersedes it. Do you know what supersedes means? Like, it takes away any other conditions. The fact that this is opposite of the right angle, that is the hypotenuse, period. That's why you label it first, so you don't accidentally call it something else. All right, so what's adjacent? 4. I would love for you to do the 3 remaining problems. You are not solving for anything. You are just labeling the sides. When I said you want a whole quiz on this. Let's label the triangle. So I always go in the same order. I find the right angle, and then I find the hypotenuse. And then I start labeling with just a single letter to make it easier on me. Then I find the angle they're telling me to focus on, and I usually put a star. From there, I'm positioning my focus from that angle. What would be the opposite? 2, because it's the farthest away. Opposite would be 2, which means the one left, right next to it, is adjacent. So right angle, find the hypotenuse, go to the angle with theta. You can either draw an arc to emphasize, that's another technique, or you can do the little star. But basically, you're no longer looking at the right angle. Now you're focused from theta. Opposite is going to be the side farthest away, not touching it at all. And then adjacent would be, if you go in that order, the only side left. So we have right angle to the side farthest away. That's the opposite, or the hypotenuse, sorry. Then from theta, the side farthest away is our opposite, and the one next to it is our adjacent. Are there any questions on labeling? If you go to the back, it's the same thing. Back. That was not black. If you go to the back, it's the same thing, but this time you would be naming it by sides. This is good practice for naming angles and naming sides. I'm going to leave this as kind of like a warm-up for tomorrow. Like, we come back in and I'm just going to say, okay, let's refresh you on how to label sides. So we're going to hold off on that. We are going to do it. If you've already started it, that's fine. You're just ahead. 54. Okay, this whole paper is presenting all of trig to you. I need you to know we're not starting with all of it. We're starting with only one of them. First of all, what is trigonometry? It's the study of triangles. It's the study of triangles. We are only going to study right triangles, but trig does fall into other types of triangles. When you get higher up, we are staying with right triangles. We are going to focus your attention on these 3 trig functions. You have, the way you pronounce it is sine, cosine, tangent. I'm only highlighting it to draw your attention here. You don't have to highlight it on your paper. We are going to look at tangent first. I teach tangent first, and then I teach sine, cosine later, everyone seems to do better. So we're going to stick with tangent only. So we're jumping around. What is tangent? What in the world are these words? These are basically formulas. Okay? So the role of trig is if I have a right triangle and I want to find the length of a missing side, but I cannot use the Pythagorean theorem, enter trig. We can use trig to find missing info on triangles when the Pythagorean theorem won't work. What is tangent? Tangent's one of them. It requires the side labeled opposite and adjacent. So what side does it not use? It does not use the hypotenuse at all. Okay? Which now you can see why we practice labeling hypotenuse, opposite, adjacent. What is the formula? Well, it depends on what angle you're focused on. First of all, when you draw your arrow to the hypotenuse, that hypotenuse will never be used in a tangent problem. Second of all, notice right here it says tan, and then it says angle A. This is the angle A that's from this picture. Then notice here it says tan angle B. It always depends on what angle you're looking at. You could be looking at this angle, you could be looking at that one. Let's pretend like you're focused on angle A. Don't make this mark because I'm going to erase it in a second. From angle A, can you tell me what is opposite of angle A? What side is opposite of angle A? Little a, right? From angle A, little a is opposite. Can you tell me what's adjacent to angle A? Little b. So, what would the trig ratio look like for tan of angle A? It would be little a over little b. Now, it's okay if you don't get it yet. It's going to come. What about from angle B? What is the side opposite of angle B? Little b. Do you notice that? And then what's the side adjacent? Little a. So, from angle B, the trig ratio for tangent would be little b over little a. All of that to say that tangent of, I need you to draw an angle symbol right here. This is kind of annoying that there's not one. Tangent of the angle is equal to the side opposite over adjacent. Tangent of the angle is equal to the side opposite over adjacent. Let me show you this one problem and then you'll be able to do it. Come right here. Number 1. We're only going to do tan A, tan C. Here's our picture. Draw an arrow from the right angle to the hypotenuse. Focus your attention from angle A. What is opposite of angle A in this picture? 5. What is adjacent to angle A? 12. You've got the fraction. Now let's do tan C. What would it be? Opposite of angle C, 12. Adjacent to angle C, 5. I am going to make a very short, we're looking at like 5 to 6 practice problems, delta map, doing just that, okay? Make sure you do them in flex. Bye. That was a little rushed at the end. I forgot it was Wednesday. That
happens to me